it's just Martine, and in today's video we're going to be reading The Westing Game and trying to guess who done it. I straight up got this idea from Ruby, and Ruby read literal months ago. She reread this book. I've never read this book, and she's like, it would be so interesting to watch a vlog of somebody reading this for the first time and trying to guess the mystery. And so I was like, bet. And so I put a hold on the book. And then for months and months and months, it kept being like, your hold is ready. And I kept saying, haha, deliver later. But then the other day I was sitting with one of my friends at the dining hall, and she was like, have you read The Westing Game? And I was like, no, but I was going to for this vlog. And she was like, wow, I need that. And so it bumped up even higher on my priority list of things to read. And I found a moment to read it. So I checked it out, and here we are. And we're going to read The Westing Game. A bit of a fair warning here. I'm terrible at guessing mysteries. I am almost always wrong about who the culprit is, why they did something, etc., etc. I'm really clueless usually. So I may make some wild statements in this video that turn out to be absolutely incorrect, and we'll just have to see what happens. I make no promises either way. But yes, this will be full spoiler. You don't have to have read The Westing Game if you just want to watch me fumble my way through it and never read it yourself or be spoiled, whatever. Or you could watch this having already read The Westing Game and watch me make a fool of myself. Let's get into it. Okay, I'm bringing you along step by step in The Westing Game. So I just finished chapter 1, and we've been introduced to what seems like the whole cast of characters, but we've really only met a couple of them. There was like a list at the end of the chapter about all of the tenants in this building, but we've only been introduced to a couple. So first we meet Barney Northrup, but that's not his real name, and he passes out 6 invitations to families to live at Sunset Towers, and then we meet 2 of those families. The first is the Wexlers, so Grace and Jake Wexler, and then we meet Sidel Pulaski, whose apartment looks out on the Westing mansion. So I think that's going to be important. And then at the end of the chapter, they say that one resident is a mistake, but they don't tell us which, obviously. And there's a whole other list of residents, but again, we don't actually meet them. So I'm waiting to actually meet them to form my opinions of them. Barney has clearly done like a lot of research on these invited tenants. He's clearly picked them for some type of reason. He knew how much the Wexlers were paying every month for their house before, but they didn't tell him. And he also knows a lot about like their jobs and stuff. He's up to something weird, but then he gets one of the tenants wrong. So like, I have no idea where this is going so far. I just finished chapter 2, and writing this in my journal is not going to work. So I'm making a spreadsheet. It has 3 main sheets: Sunset Towers, so everyone involved with Sunset Towers, like the families and stuff, and then I'll put any relevant information down here. And then information about the Westing house is here, and activity specifically, let's bold this, that goes on at the Westing house. And then finally the plot, so basically like a summary for each chapter with like things that I think are important added in. Is this extreme for a kid's book? Yes. And is this going to make it even more embarrassing if I get the mystery wrong? Absolutely. But we out here. I finished chapter 3, and we're starting to have some motives pop up around the Westing residence for sure. So like, we ended the chapter with Sidel Pulaski from 3C, who feels really unnoticed and bought a lot of weird stuff and then was like, they'll notice me now. So she bought paint thinner, enamel brushes, and crutches. I'm not sure what she's gonna do with that, but it's weird. And then Shinhu, the restaurateur, seems to have something from his past against Westing, so I noted that. And then JJ Ford seems to owe money to Westing, I think was the way I read that. And I also started this little table here because at the end of the first chapter, it says like the type of people that are in the building. So I'm matching up like who's who. So Flora's the dressmaker, Sidel's the secretary. And I have a possible thing about the mistake, which could be that like they thought they were inviting the right person, but the person had actually swapped places. Things are shaping up. So now I'm 20% of the way into the Westing Game, and we just got to the part where they announced the Westing Game. So basically, Turtle goes into the Westing mansion and finds Mr. Westing's body because he's dead, and then finds his last will and testament right next to his corpse. And the person who reads them the will gathers them all together, like all the people who live at Sunset Towers, and also like a lot of the people that work at Sunset Towers, and say that they're all like Mr. Westing's 16 closest nieces and nephews, and then says that they're going to try and win their inheritance through the Westing game, and also says that one of them murdered Westing and they're going to have to find out who, and I don't have any insights or guesses yet. Okay, I'm now 41% of the way into the Westing game. I won't lie, I took some time off from reading this, so it's been a hot minute, but I'm starting to get back into it. And I've just reached the point in the story in which they had a meeting between all of the heirs where they were trying to decide whether or not they should share clues with one another. And then there's a tomato sauce bomb that goes off all over the Theodorakis Cafe's kitchen. And here's some things that I'm feeling right now. I trust the kids in this story more than I trust the adults, which I think is fair. Turtle, even though we can't figure out what her real name is, there's some debate. Is it Alice? Is it this? I forget what the other name option was, but it's something. In spite of that, I trust Turtle. I trust Chris. He's really observant. We're seeing a lot of things through his eyes that we wouldn't notice otherwise. For instance, his perspective is the one that points out to us that Judge Ford lives in 4D, so her apartment number spells out the last name she's using, which I can't tell if that's a clue that she's the person who's not who they say they are, or if it's done for a different reason, including potentially leading us off track to make us think that she's the one who's not who she says she is. Additionally, I really don't trust Grace Wexler. Maybe that's just because of her vibe. It's off in some way. I don't trust her. I don't understand her intentions. She's making me feel a little weird at this point. We also found out that Sidel Pulaski speaks Polish because she took notes in Polish. So that was revealed to us, and I have no idea what that's going to do with the plot up to this point. And then I think the last really important piece of information that we've gotten since I updated you last, they've introduced this board, like a cork board or something, a bulletin board where people can post announcements. They've shared a lot of those announcements, and a lot of them have to do with like missing items. So that is something of note. And I did forget one other thing that I was going to tell you. So if I remember, I'll let you know. But that's where I'm sitting. I really don't know who done it, as it were. I do have some weird vibes from certain characters, so I guess we'll see if those vibes are like meant to lead me astray or what, if they're hiding something totally different. I'm interested to find out. I'm now officially 50% of the way into the Westing game, and I honestly feel like I have no interesting predictions to make. Continually though, Grace Wexler gives me weird vibes. I don't know what's wrong with her, but something is wrong with her. She gives me the vibes of like Alice Cooper in season 1 of Riverdale, where like she's putting up this perfect front and she has her 2 daughters and one of them is like looking into things. So in Riverdale that's Betty, and in the Westing game it's Turtle. I just want to know if Turtle's gonna find something about her mom. Meanwhile, Turtle is absolutely losing money on the stock market. I don't know if this is going to be relevant to the plot or if it's just there, but she's down like $3,000 now at this point. That's tough, kid. Almost everybody has a motive, so that's not helpful, but I'm sure it was done on purpose. Grace Wexler gives me a weird vibe. I won't lie. Okay, now Denton Deer is like taking Chris somewhere, so that's weird. And Chris has this thought. He's like, what if I be kidnapped? That would be so exciting. And I'm like, no, Chris. I think he'll be okay. I think that was said just to like mislead us. But yeah, there's also some suspicion right now being cast on the lawyer, Ed Plum. But I feel like it's not him, so, you know, I don't know. We learned a couple things in these next few chapters. The first is that they think that Sam Westing got it wrong when he put Sidel Pulaski as one of his heirs, and that he meant to put Sybil Pulaski, who was a childhood friend of the cleaning ladies. Not really sure how that's going to like contribute to the further plot other than he made a mistake. But then the judge was like looking through files and came to the conclusion Mrs. Westing has to be in the group of heirs because she was responsible for her daughter's death. And so now I think we're going to try to find out who is Mrs. Westing. So because Sam Westing was older, I guess I can't necessarily think that it is Mrs. Wexler. However, they keep driving the point home that Angela really looks like the deceased daughter of Sam Westing. So it is possible. And also, Mrs. Wexler is the only one who keeps saying that like she is directly related to Sam Westing. She keeps saying he was her uncle, but I don't know if that's a lie or not. On the other hand, I'm drawn to some of the older women like Flora Baumbach because I think they might be the more appropriate age for Mrs. Westing. Now I'm confused. And if it turns out that the person I've felt weird about this whole time is Mrs. Westing, I'm going to lose it. How weird would that be? I only realized it a few pages ahead of them, but some of the characters just realized that the words on the clues are to America the Beautiful, but I don't know why. I clearly haven't solved the mystery yet. I'm now 75% into the Westing game, and a lot of things just happened in the last chapter that I need to unpack. One, when they were going over America the Beautiful, they got stuck on Amber, and that's Otis's last name. And then later in the chapter, another character was like, maybe Otis is Sam Westing disguised, because apparently Sam Westing had his face changed. So now they don't think Sam Westing is actually dead. And one of them thinks it might be Barney Northrup, who's the guy who gave them all the invitations to move to Sunset Towers, and one thinks it's Otis Amber. They also think that Crow is actually Sam Westing's wife. Now here's where it gets confusing, is that at the end of the chapter we see Crow and Otis Amber together and they're going towards the Westing house, but it doesn't seem like they're interacting as if they knew each other before. Like, I feel like she's not treating him like she would Sam Westing. So either she doesn't know that he could be Sam Westing, or he's not Sam Westing, or furthermore, she's not Sam Westing's wife. All of which could be possible because we're 70% of the way in, and if the characters really think they have the answer right now, it's probably the wrong one. But I don't know where this leaves me. Furthermore, Turtle has admitted to being the bomber, but she's actually protecting somebody. I think it was made clear that she's protecting Angela, but I'm also not positive. Either I missed something very clear, or it wasn't clear at all. Either way, things are weird with the Wexler family, because Angela got hurt by one of the bombs, and now Turtle has confessed to the bombings. So it's all just a big mess, and I honestly have no idea what's happening, which makes this a very boring vlog. So I'm sorry. I'm trying my best to figure out what could happen, but I honestly have no good theories, except this weird feeling I have about Grace Wexler, and all of the theories cooked up by the different characters, who I'm not sure I can trust to be reliable narrators. So if there's something really obvious staring me in the face right now, it's going to be upsetting. I mean, if the characters are right already at 75% in the book, it's also going to be a little upsetting, so I guess we'll see. So Crow has just been arrested because she was like, it was me, I did it, I'm the answer, and goodbye. And I still have like half an hour, I think, left of the book, so I'm like, was it her? I can't. If it is, I don't understand why, so. Okay, wait, Sandy? Sandy is Sam Westing? Is that what I just read? I'm so confused. I'm so confused. Did I stop paying attention at some point? What am I missing? Okay. I just finished the Westing game. Listen, there were things that I absolutely did not catch on to. So much so that it makes me wonder, were they actually in the book? I'm sure they probably were, but I was like, really? I honestly think there was no way I would have guessed the true ending of the book, so I tried my best. I still think Grace is an interesting character and up to something, but I guess she was not up to this. Turtle solved it, as I knew Turtle would. Okay, I don't know if there was something wrong with the ebook copy or just the writing, but in the last few chapters, things kept feeling like they were skipping. Like, one moment they were talking about something, and the next moment Mrs. Who was like giving back items she had stolen, and I was like, wait, when were we talking about stealing them? Like, I remember the stolen items, but I was like, why is that here now? I'm giving this book 2 stars. It took me forever to get through, and I wasn't particularly invested in the mystery, and there were so many characters who did things that were weird, and it was just never explained. Like, that whole time I was like, Grace Wexler did something. Nothing. She got really drunk, and that was like it. Things did fit together, but as it's said in the beginning of the book, like, it wasn't plotted out before. She just like wrote it and saw what happened, and I very much could feel that vibe. Like, everything did fit, and they obviously went back and edited it after, but it just felt like I'm not positive where this is going, and then it goes there type thing. I don't know, maybe it's just my read of it, not my favorite, but I am glad that I made this vlog and made myself look like a fool by rallying on about Grace Wexler, who I guess did nothing. But yeah, so I'm going to end this vlog here. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and comment down below, were you able to guess the ending of the Weston game? And subscribe for more reading, writing, and college lifestyle content. And until next time, bye humans, bye!